Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Welcome to the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. I am Jody Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher.
And today we're going to talk about hobbies. Oh, hobbies.
Yeah. I mean, people have some really fun hobbies that we've seen over the years.
Really, they do. Yeah,
Yes.
There are so many. It's such a variety around it, but it can also take up tons and tons of space.
Yes, we see that too. I've seen quite a few train sets and, some hobbies are just big.
Some incredible Lego rooms. We just had a client who has an amazing Lego room, and then I had one that had in a basement that was the entire basement was and a little like train went through it. I mean, it was all set up like a city. It was amazing.
Yes.
Actually. Super
Yes.
Cool.
I think that lots of crocheters in my family, so lots of yarn.
Yeah, we have needlepoint. That's what our family does, needlepoint.
Yes, and a few wonderful ladies we've met over the years that hand make cards.
Yeah, cards and quilts.
And
we had
soap, yes.
Yeah.
We've had people that make handmade soap. So much fun.
I know.
Everybody's doing such fun things.
Yeah. We had one client who downsized into a condo, and the dining room became the quilting room because she had this machine like as big as the dining room.
Oh, those.
Mean, amazing. That made all the quilting,
the seams or whatever.
I don't know what the
stitches.
All you quilters are like yelling the words at us that we don't know, but the patterns of the stitching are on the quilt.
Yes, the stitching. I don't know beyond that. I've never made a quilt.
Yes, but yeah, super cool. So, I mean, she figured out a way to make that work because she was really still into it and still doing it.
I had a neighbor that was very much into quilting, and the front room, like the formal living room was like shelves, just the beautiful colors of the folded fabric. It looked like a fabric store, but it was beautiful too. There was so much that she had, and she made beautiful work. But when you're thinking of downsizing, those hobbies might need downsized a little bit.
Well. Yes.
So that's what we're going to talk about today.
We had a client that sewed too I know she had bookcases, and it was like the whole bookcases in the basement were, like you said, all those beautiful fabrics, color coded, like
rainbow.
Really, yes, very cool.
Sorted, yes.
Very cool. So first of all, let's just talk about why hobbies are important. I mean, we have some statistics on that. People who have hobbies are 34% less likely to suffer from depression, which I think is super interesting. You have like something that interests you and you're doing
a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. So that's reading or gardening or, crafting or whatever it is that also lowers your cortisol or your stress hormones. So kind of gives you that like, okay.
Yes.
And I know like you and I both we watch TV, but we cannot just watch TV. We have to be doing something.
Multitask. I am not just a TV watcher.
And so that's that kind of thing. Like if you did the cross stitch or, if you were like, we play games too.
Yeah. I think it's funny that our stuff, we've been talking about stats where too much stuff raises our cortisol, and then using the stuff as a hobby, brings it down. So it's an even playing field. So that's the solution,
well,
right?
I think it just needs just enough stuff to get the hobby done without having it be like so crazy.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one thing. Also, it is improved physical health. So studies has shown that people who are regularly engaged in hobbies have better sleep, lower blood pressure, and fewer chronic health complaints. And they're 30% less likely to die over an 8-year period than those without hobbies, which is also super interesting. So they keep your body young and your mind young as we age.
Yeah, well, I think people join us, to listen to our podcast, and, we're having fun, or we're talking about hard topics, and we're talking about emotion, but then you see like these things really do come down to science. Yeah. And your well-being. Yeah. On a lot of these topics, and that's so fascinating to me.
Right. It all weaves together.
Yeah.
Another one is social connection and loneliness. And so if you find a hobby that you guys do together, like book club or, sewing together or crocheting together or any of those things, walking, any of it, that it will create a connection with other people, which is also really important for your health.
Yeah. I think,
even in online communities, even if you're not doing it in person with people.
Yeah, certainly. I think that that's something we notice in lots of areas where, as a society, we're more lonely because things are isolating, and you don't have to leave your house as much as you used to because everything can come to the door and all of that. But I think back how fun it would have been, they had the sewing circles or whatever, and just all of the things you did for your day-to-day living. So many more of them were done in community.
Yes.
So hobbies are a way to bring back that environment, to find groups that are doing the same thing and go join them.
Yeah, I love that. Cognitive benefits too. It shows that if you're doing music, listening to music or playing music, doing puzzles, any kind of games, painting, that all helps with your cognitive decline, like slower cognitive, keeps your brain smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's super cool. And then another one shows that they just felt like they had a higher happiness and purpose in life. And that's exactly what you were saying. Like, it gives you some purpose or something to do. And especially if you do something good with whatever you create. So that's fun.
Yeah. There's so many people with so much talent. They're not only having fun with their hobbies, but beautiful product coming out the other side.
My husband, his dad painted, and he would go, so he did it, so that was cognitive, and then he went down and did it like at the community center, so he did it so with socially and all of that, and then he would create Christmas cards, hand-painted Christmas cards that he gave us every year. And so last year, he's passed away, but last year I framed all the Christmas cards for Mark, and so there was like all these white frames, and so we put them all in a frame, and it turned out really cool. And we just kind of made a wall of his framed Christmas cards, and
That's
it was really
so cool.
neat.
Yeah, I love that.
It was cool.
I love that. So when we're talking about hobbies, I think we definitely want to keep hobbies in our life.
Yeah.
We do not want to say
downsize and get rid of all your hobbies. We're not saying that.
Yes. So maybe we can talk a bit about, how to decide which hobbies. I think sometimes we have abandoned hobbies. Yeah. And so that's not going to be giving you the health benefits or anything.
Right.
It's just giving you the burden. Too much stuff. It's giving you the burden of what you're not doing and what you're not using and the stuff. So that is probably a great place to start looking around your environment.
Yeah.
And deciding, what things are bringing you joy. So, some questions to ask around, should you let something go or keep it going? Do I still love this? Or do you just feel obligated to keep it around or to half-heartedly do it because you invested time and money and you feel guilty? It's okay. It's just like, the shirt you bought, spent the money on and never wore. That's past.
Right.
It was a mistake, but it's fine.
And maybe the hobby wasn't a mistake. Maybe there was a time in your life, like, oh my gosh, one time my friends and I, we thought we could make hair bows for the girls when they were little. And we bought all this ribbon because we're like, this has to be easy. And the hair bows were kind of, semi-expensive. Not really. And we're like, we can do this. Oh my gosh, we spent the whole night. We spent all this money on ribbon. We ended up with no usable hair bows. We were not capable of making the hair bows. And so that was just like, okay, failed attempt, move on. Like, we don't, whatever. But sometimes you have hobbies, like, I wouldn't even be trying that now. My girl's not at that age. And so sometimes, like, I did a lot of craft stuff with the kids when they were little, but none of us do that anymore. And so it wasn't a mistake. It was just a time in our life of what we were then. And now, that time has moved on. And we can look at other stuff because when you look at your hobby, is that where you feel most yourself? Can you kind of get lost in that? Like, if you're singing or playing music or, you can get lost in that. And do you get lost in your hobby a little bit and just feel painting? Those kind of things can just, like, the time goes and you just don't even know where it went.
And are you finding the time because you love it so much? Yeah. Like, I can't wait to go home and do that, make it a priority. Or are you kind of avoiding and just feeling burdened by it.
Yeah. And some hobbies are a great way to, spend some time if you end up with lots of time, like after your kids have left, to give yourself some things to do. So,
Yeah.
So if you have hobbies that have been useful in your life at some point, but they're not anymore, then those are the ones that can mosey on out the door because somebody else loves that hobby and would be happy to take that stuff.
Yeah. So thinking about when the last time you actually spent time doing that hobby, and what would the hobby look like in a smaller or a right-sized home? Is it something that can easily move forward or change to fit, that new lifestyle?
I think of that as like sewing and you have all the fabric, or crocheting and you have all the yarn, and so you do a project and you used a certain amount of whatever, and there's always leftover. Mm-hmm. And so you just end up keeping, and you just keep. And so is there a way that you can let that go? And I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's not hard, because you're like, I could use that for something else or whatever.
Right.
But I think how could you project by project kind of let some of that go?
Yeah, absolutely. I know, my mom loves to crochet, and she has all the yarn and all of that. And, we all can only use so many scarves or, blankets that she's made, but she enjoys the activity of it. So she crochets scarves for all the kids. She donates them to kids, that might not have that and need that for the winter. And so she's using it. She's not super particular. She's using up the yarn she has from other projects. Perfect. And then getting them out the door, and I love that. So I volunteer with the Rotary, and at Christmas we have a hat and gloves and scarf drive. Not the coats, just the hats and gloves. And we got this bag of the most beautiful handmade crocheted hats. They were lovely, and so people definitely want those. I mean, if that's your hobby, and you feel like, oh my gosh, my kids have enough hats, you absolutely can share those with others. I think there are organizations like VA hospitals, nurseries sometimes. There are, if
Breast
they're brand
cancer,
new, people going through chemotherapy to have blankets when they're doing that. There are lots of places. If your hobby is creating something, but the overwhelm comes from not having an outlet to move that forward, there are lots of ways to get creative, to find people who would love that end result, and not to have that just stacking up in your house and being part of the overwhelm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you can create a visual or a written legacy if you're letting go of some things, and let's say it's quilts, and you're going to go ahead and give them to people who need them. You can still take a picture of that, create like a little book of the quilts that you've created, so you just remember them. But that somebody's out there using it and loving it, so that's kind of cool. You can let go with generosity, right? Find people who are doing that and want to do that. And
I think
clubs.
We have found a couple of times. We had a client that was a painter, and so she had, 2 or 3 bedrooms with paint supplies and easels, and not only her finished paintings, but all of the supplies from years of doing that. And she wasn't able, for her new space, she was taking just a small portion of that. But we were able to connect her here locally with an art school that taught classes in our area for underprivileged kids, to teach them art and painting and things. They were so thankful to get just, those couple boxes of supplies. And there are oftentimes clubs, that would love to get your old golf clubs or your fishing supplies or your craft supplies. Schools, if you have stuff left over from when your kids were at home, or just a lot of scrapbooking or just a lot of craft supplies that end up being kind of random. I have
a
this
little
stack
bit
of colored paper and these pom-poms and this, this and that. A lot of times teachers are very grateful because that can be just such a grab box for different projects to fill that void without having to buy new supplies.
Yeah. Senior centers, same thing they do. A lot of times they'll have craft classes and, have things that they want, maker spaces. Like at the library here, we have a library maker space, which we still need to go to.
Yes.
Allison on our team has been there a lot, and we just can't wait to go see what it all looks like. Yeah. So there's definitely places to donate it to where it's going to go to really good use. And that lady that had given her paint supplies, that was such a win-win because she was so happy.
Yeah.
She felt so great about that. And then the kids felt great. The teachers and the kids felt great about it too. So that was such a win-win.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about donations frequently on our episodes, there's lots of great organizations in many cities that are just that kind of general donation. Like, what could someone else use for a standard household? And so you're giving pots and pans and blankets and all of that, and that's wonderful. But there's these unique categories where it doesn't feel the same to give all of your art supplies to a general donation bin because it's just not targeted, and the odds of it landing in the right hands and getting the life that it has and the love that you have in that used again isn't always the choice that feels the best. So I love when we can help connect the unique thing with an organization that might want it and put it to use. Train collections, I said we've come across a lot of train collectors, but there are groups, I'm sure, in every city that would love that and that we've been able to connect.
It feels very rewarding, and it makes it easier to let go.
Yeah, because that next person loves it as much as you did and can put it to use. Or a lot of those situations, those supplies get used to teach the next generation to love whatever it was. Which is amazing. You're carrying on that legacy of the hobby and teaching new kids how to golf or how to, love the train sets or whatever it is. You're passing that on.
Yes. Yep. In our family, it's needlepoint, and so my Nana needlepointed, and my Aunt Karen needlepoints, and so I used to, and then I stopped, and so I just picked it up again, and Maddie is doing it with me. Well, we're doing separate ones, but we've decided to make belts, so they'll be useful in the end. And so it's fun to see her start to do it as well. So it's kind of fun.
Absolutely. My daughter skipped over me. I never took the time to learn how to crochet, but my daughter does, along with my mom, and they're constantly comparing and helping each other. And my daughter's of the age of YouTube videos and things so she was taught a lot through that, and she turns around and shows my mom new ways to do things, even though she's very skilled herself. So
fun. It's
really cool to see how those can be passed down in families. But if that's not the case, there's that same reward from clubs and places you could teach a class on something. If you really have a skill, you can put yourself in that role of leading a group of young people or your peers. Senior centers and schools and lots of places would love to have classes on things that you know how to do and keep those skills going.
I tried knitting once, and I'd have too much stress apparently because I would start and it would just get tighter and tighter until I couldn't move the needles anymore. And then I'd pull it apart and start again. And I needed somebody to teach me that because that was not something that I could get on my own.
Yeah, I did try that once and got, a few inches of a scarf or something, and then accidentally it was all unraveling, and I don't even know what I did, and didn't have the patience at that phase in life to go back.
Yeah. I was back to needlepoint after that.
I did cross stitch when I think my neighbor taught me. Gosh, I remember being like middle school age, and my neighbor taught me.
Fun.
and I broke my arm, and I had to I had to wear the sling from the doctor, and she cross-stitched like my name and a design on my sling, and then ended up teaching me how to do it after my arm was healed and all of that. She was the one who taught me, and I did lots of projects. And when my kids were born and were babies, and I was home with them, and they were still, babies, so they napped a lot and all of that. I did some pretty big projects, and I'm not sure my life has the time for that, but I did come across my one box of supplies recently as I was cleaning out some things, and I had to open the box to know what was in it from when I last moved, and then I was like, oh, there it is. And I'll admit, I did pause and say I need to, it's kind of a maybe box. I said I need to revisit this before we're headed to the donation center in an hour.
Well, and I do think sometimes you can pick things back up again, but and maybe you need to rediscover it in a different way. Maybe you need to go take a class or do something to kind of give yourself a little revitalization about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're trying to take it into a smaller space, what kind of things can you do to scale it down? So kind of think about how organizing, really to get it very organized, that could be. Could you do that on a folding table that would then fold back up and go somewhere in a closet or something, so it's not necessarily just out in a room all the time if you don't have a specific hobby room in your new place? IKEA has like rolling cart crafts, or some of the crafting stores have rolling carts where you can organize everything and kind of put it in a cart that it could roll away, maybe, or stackable bins that it could go into a closet or something. You could pull it out.
I love when you can, especially the rolling cart, but when you can put it out of sight when you're not doing it, and keeping true to that, clear spaces for that clear mind, and you're not feeling overwhelmed by trying to share one room with too many purposes. Yeah. You can slide it away when it's not time for that.
Yeah. And then sometimes you can create like a dual purpose room. Like it can be your craft room and your guest room. Yeah. So maybe it has a pull-out couch or, something like that, but you also can have a desk that folds open, or, has storage that you can close it off, and then so you can kind of create a multi-purpose room. Or maybe you can put your painting easel in your dining room and then take that back down.
Yeah, I think it works well when the second purpose of a room is not every day. Yeah. Like that, when it's the guest room. Right. It's there when needed, but the main purpose can be one thing.
Yeah, Mark's dad, in their house, they had a ranch that had a little area that was like a sunroom, and he loved to paint there. So
yeah, little designated corner works
because it was
just
the light.
As well.
He loved the light. Yeah, it was just in the corner.
Yeah,
we may have their breakfast kind of table there, but he liked the light there.
Yeah. If you're going to have a garage in your next place, is there room for a smaller workshop, one workshop bench versus what you might have had in a larger space? How can you scale that down?
Mm-hmm. And you can do some things you can do digitally. You can switch to, drawing on a tablet. That's so different than drawing with actual things. So you'll have to decide if that's for you. But there, you could potentially do something like that. You can, scan your collections and kind of, know what those are that way.
Yeah. I think you could potentially take sometimes too, like when we were talking about quilting, is there something similar? My neighbor who I was saying had all the fabric in her living room, she made the cutest little like Christmas tree quilted Christmas ornaments out. I mean, she just used the scrap fabric that she accumulated from all of the quilts, and she would match up different patterns and make the cutest Christmas tree ornaments. And so maybe if you don't have space for, spreading out huge quilts or the time or the patience anymore, can you take those same skills and do something where you're still dipping into it, but at a smaller scale too.
Yeah. Yes.
Smaller paintings or, any way where you're still keeping it in your life, but maybe not the same
Not
scale.
giant, big canvases and things.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, do it socially so that you can take that, maybe you can take a little piece, little box that you just, that's the size of your hobby, and you take it off to somewhere where you can do it as a group or do it in a club or a class.
Yeah. I think, that gives you so many benefits back to the social aspect, and the teaching aspect. Definitely do some research to your local senior centers or rec centers, lots of places. And, if they're offering a class, go join in. You'll find other people that have, a common interest in learning about that. You might learn something new. If there's opportunity to help teach a class, jump in and do that. You get to still surround yourself with the hobby, but you're doing it with your supplies somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in your space.
Well, and if your hobby is something big like pottery and you have a wheel or something like that, maybe you can let that go, but you can go take a, class or go to a maker space or go to a pottery, and just go once
Connect
a week
with
and do it there and use
studio,
their wheel. Yeah, in a studio. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So kind of think outside the box where you can still have the hobby and do it. And maybe even might even be better when you do it with others. Maybe it's your own thing. You just kind of put your headphones on when you go there and just do that silently. But either way,
there's still
ways to do it
in your life and reap the benefits from it. I think that's comparable to someone who might have had huge vegetable gardens on acreage, and then, maybe you reduce that to some, planter boxes or, the deck growing up your tomatoes in pots instead of the big vegetable garden. And you're just kind of scaling down as you go, but you're still enjoying the same hobby.
Some of the hobbies we find that people have trouble letting go of ones that they used to have, and they don't want to let go of that idea of it. And so I was kind of looking into why you would let go of a hobby, and it kind of ties into some of the other podcasts that we've done about grief and time management and all kinds of things. But a lot of it is grief, honestly. Like it, if you get sad, you kind of just stop doing the things that you like to do, and so some of that could, if you can pull you back out of the grief if you start to get yourself back into it.
Yeah.
Some of it is, it's painful because you gardened together, or the garden reminded you of this person, or that hobby somehow reminded you of that person. And now, again, like you're struggling with it. So just kind of be cognizant of why you're holding on to it. And is it because you genuinely think you're going to pick it up again, or is it because you just can't let it go for some reason?
Yeah, grieving a season of life that's no longer there.
Yeah, and that's okay. And just realize that, and then pick the hobbies that give you that joy and give you that energy, and let you keep moving forward. So just a little thought about why sometimes they get stuck in a corner, but then we still can't seem to let go of them.
Yeah, and I think that that you saying that reminds me, sometimes it's a great opportunity to really just switch to something new.
Yeah.
So you're not grieving that it's not as grand, as big of a scale as it was, or you can't physically do it as well or whatever. It's just the opportunity to fill that space with learning something new. And it's never, we're never too old to jump in. And
yeah, I think crafty people are crafty in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. I think they're easily to pick up a different crafty thing.
Yeah.
I think that's easier for people.
Yeah. And just different ways you can plug in and just try something you've never tried.
Yeah. So if you're struggling with hobby, like I think of it as like little kind of areas that you're just like, can't do that, can't, like just kind of hobby
Yeah.
clutter.
Yeah, hobby clutter is the right way to put it.
Yeah.
But I think it's the time to get real with yourself and ask a lot of the questions we've talked about. Why is it still there in the house? Are you enjoying it? Are you using it? It might be all great status quo then. Are you enjoying it, but you need to go to a different, home, a different location, and so that we have to find ways to scale it down so you can still enjoy it? Is it just something that, you're feeling guilt over?
You used to do it, and now you have all that stuff, and you spent all that money on it, and it's not your thing anymore. It's somebody else's thing. They will be so happy to have it. Let them have it and pick something that you're going to do.
Yeah, and if it's just, I don't do that anymore, not really attached to it, but I just don't know what to do with it, that's a problem we can help with as well. So, that's looking at creative donation resources or creative ways to move that on to someone who will love it. So
we have a lot of resources on our website at downsizingroadmap.com, but if you have something special, reach out to us and we'll see if we can figure out how to help.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's it for today. I want to hear what hobbies everybody is doing so I can pick a new one and dive in. But we will be back next time with another episode. And like Jody said, the resources on our website, downsizingroadmap.com, and we look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.